go to the full extent, depending how far this goes. We will go to the extent of cutting off their energy, going down to Michigan, going down to New York State, and over to Wisconsin. I don't want this to happen, but my number one job is to protect Ontario, Ontarians and Canadians as a whole. This is coming. It's not if it is.
The global economic landscape is undergoing a profound shift, with China's recent move to impose strict export controls on critical metals and Canada considering redirecting its energy exports away from the United States. These developments have sent shockwaves across international trade relationships, leaving businesses and governments scrambling to adjust in what could be a volatile period for the global economy.
China has added extra tariffs on a range of American imports. Coal and liquefied natural gas will be levied with an additional 15% tax. Crude oil, farming equipment, and some vehicles, 10%. The move is Beijing's response to the Trump administration's added 10% tariff imposed on all Chinese imports to the U.S. at the start of February.
Trade and tariff wars have no winners. What is needed are not more tariffs, but dialogue. We urge the U.S. to correct its action and stop weaponizing trade issues.
On February 4th, 2025, China made headlines by announcing broad new export controls targeting 5 vital metals that play a crucial role in industries like defense, clean energy, and technology. This announcement came immediately after U.S. President Donald Trump's 10% tariff on Chinese goods went into effect, escalating trade tensions between the two superpowers.
China is also hitting back by filing a lawsuit against the U.S. at the World Trade Organization, sanctioning 2 U.S. firms, tightening control over the export of rare earth minerals to the U.S., and launching an antitrust investigation into tech giant Google.
The metals affected by these controls include tungsten, thorium, bismuth, indium, and molybdenum, elements used in everything from smartphones to missiles and electric car batteries. By restricting exports of these metals, China is flexing its dominance in the mining and processing of critical minerals, triggering a major scramble among Western industries to restructure their supply chains. But just how vital are these metals? Let's break it down. Tungsten, for example, is the second hardest metal on Earth, after diamonds. It's crucial in the production of items such as artillery shells, armor plating, and cutting tools. China controls more than 80% of global tungsten production, and the U.S. has been unable to mine it domestically since 2015. Without access to tungsten, the U.S. defense sector, which relies heavily on this metal for munitions, faces significant challenges. Indium is another critical metal, especially in the production of touchscreens and flat-panel displays. With the global push toward 5G technology, demand for indium is skyrocketing. China supplies 70% of the world's indium, and the U.S. imports a significant portion of it. Should China restrict exports, tech giants would likely face severe delays and rising costs. Bismuth is used in a variety of applications, from solder and alloys to medications and atomic research. The U.S. hasn't produced refined bismuth since 1997, and China produces more than 80% of the global supply. In short, any reduction in bismuth exports could send shockwaves through several industries. Similarly, thorium is essential in solar panels, memory chips, and a range of other products. China controls 75% of the world's refined thorium production, and without it, the global renewable energy sector could face setbacks. Then there's molybdenum, a metal that strengthens steel alloys, making them more heat and corrosion resistant. With China responsible for 40% of global production, a supply disruption could result in higher prices and longer lead times for steel used in infrastructure, manufacturing, and more. These export restrictions are already being felt in global markets. Prices for tungsten, indium, and bismuth hit their highest levels in over a decade before the export controls were even officially announced. However, some market analysts believe the immediate impact may be limited, as alternative sources do exist. Even so, the broader effects could reverberate through several industries, including defense, semiconductors, and clean energy. China's Ministry of Commerce has framed the new export controls as a measure to safeguard its national security. This move is widely seen as a response to escalating trade tensions with the U.S. The timing, coming right after the U.S. imposed new tariffs, suggests a deliberate effort to leverage China's strategic dominance in key minerals. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, a major shift is brewing in North America. Canada, a close ally of the U.S., is considering redirecting its vast energy exports away from its southern neighbor. This shift is in response to President Trump's threat to impose a 25% tariff on Canadian imports. Given the significant energy trade between the two nations, such a move would have profound consequences for both economies.
I think it's pretty ridiculous and a slap in the face to our allies. Like, you guys have our back, you stimulate our economy.
It might cost us more in the long run, you know, down here. And he has a lot of different things he's doing, and may come back to bite him. All of us, you never know.
We got to do what we got to do. I mean, we've been taken advantage of for too long, and I believe in Trump.
I don't know. He's saying it's to reduce drugs and things across the border, but I don't buy that really. So.
Canada is the largest supplier of crude oil to the U.S., accounting for about 60% of total oil imports. In addition, Canada provides substantial amounts of natural gas and electricity to U.S. states, including key energy suppliers like Ontario. If Canada follows through on its energy pivot, it could throw a wrench into the U.S. energy sector. In particular, U.S. refineries, which are designed to process heavy crude oil from Canada, could face significant challenges sourcing alternative supplies. Ontario Premier Doug Ford has already made waves by publicly considering cutting off energy supplies to the U.S.
Elsewhere, U.S. President Donald Trump has signed tariffs on imports from Canada, Mexico and China, America's top trading partners. Now, a 25% tariff is imposed on Canadian goods, with a 10% levy placed on Canadian oil exports.
He warned that the Canadian government is prepared to go to the full extent in response to the tariffs, potentially impacting U.S. states like Michigan, New York, and Wisconsin, which rely heavily on Canadian energy. In response to this uncertainty, Canada is actively working to diversify its energy export markets. Alberta, a province rich in oil reserves, is spearheading this diversification effort by exploring new export avenues to countries like Japan. With its competitive pricing, shorter shipping routes, and lower geopolitical risks, Canadian LNG could be a game changer in Asia. Canada is also eyeing European markets, particularly as the region grapples with an energy crisis exacerbated by the ongoing geopolitical tensions surrounding Russia.
Tonight, I am announcing Canada will be responding to the U.S. trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods. This will include immediate tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods as of Tuesday, followed by further tariffs on $125 billion worth of American products in 21 days' time to allow Canadian companies and supply chains to seek to find alternatives.
Canadian energy exports could help fill the gap left by reduced Russian gas supplies, stabilizing energy prices across Europe and providing a new revenue stream for Canada. But this shift could spell trouble for the U.S. LNG industry. As the U.S. has positioned itself as a global LNG powerhouse, Canada's ability to offer competitive pricing and reliable supply could undercut U.S. ambitions and disrupt the North American energy market. The combined impact of China's export controls and Canada's potential energy pivot could lead the U.S. into a challenging economic situation. According to a report by economist Michael Davenport, Canada's retaliatory measures could reduce its GDP by 2.5% by early 2026 and cause inflation to surge.
During the day the world stood still, September 11th, 2001, when we provided refuge to stranded passengers and planes, we were always there, standing with you, grieving with you, the American people. Together, we've built the most successful economic, military, and security partnership the world has ever seen, a relationship that has been the envy of the world.
If the U.S. feels the ripple effect, especially in energy-dependent regions like the Midwest, the impact could be even more severe. The escalating trade tensions, especially with Trump's recently imposed tariffs, have triggered a swift and forceful response from Canada. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has announced targeted tariffs on $155 billion worth of U.S. goods, including consumer items and industrial products. These tariffs will be rolled out in 2 phases, designed to allow Canadian businesses time to adjust and mitigate supply chain disruptions.
You are taxing regular Americans, and we are going to fight back. And Canada is your biggest market. Canada is a bigger market for U.S. exporters than China, Japan, the UK, and France combined. For Americans, like your business people, right? The customer is always right, and your customer is really angry at you. The whole country is behind the retaliation the Prime Minister has announced. So now we are going to tax American exporters who are trying to sell us stuff. That means Americans are going to lose jobs. So this is really, it is self-mutilation. America is hurting itself. We think that it is utterly crazy, and we're also really, really angry at you.
Trudeau has made it clear that Canada is reluctant to take such measures, but will not back down in the face of U.S. economic aggression. The fallout from these tariffs could be felt across various U.S. industries, including automobiles, steel and aerospace, as well as agricultural goods like beef and pork. As the trade war intensifies, it's clear that the economic relationships between these 3 countries, China, Canada, and the United States, are shifting in profound ways. The global economy could soon face a new reality, where traditional trading partnerships are redefined, and the consequences of these changes will reverberate for years to come.